Hi, everyone. We're so happy that you're here. We are actually going to be starting right on time right now. So I'm very excited about that. And I just want to give everyone a moment just to settle into the meeting. This is a very special meeting because we will have a great overview of what to expect on the SHSAT for seventh graders. And hopefully there's some sixth graders listening in as well. I'm really excited that this will be a multilingual webinar, one of the first in the history of Kweller Prep. So I'm very excited to do this in partnership. And this is a really exciting moment. So I think we're good right now. We're just about ready to get started. Okay. Give us just a moment. We're just waiting on one or just a few more.
So while everybody's getting settled, I just want to introduce myself. So hi, my name is Olga. I'm one of the long-term tutors with Kweller Prep. I graduated from a specialized high school and have a lot of experience of tutoring for many, many, many years since. And I'm currently in my last year of medical school. So I'm very excited, like Francis said, I just want to echo that I'm very excited to be hosting one of our first multilingual webinars. I've done many of these. Unilingual, so I'm very excited for this one. And my co-host is with me here.
Hi, I'm Fendi. I also know how to speak Chinese. And I'm so excited to be here and translate for you. I also go to Bronx Science, and I'll say in Chinese. 大家好，我叫小凡，我现在在10年级，在 Bronx Science。我的中文真的是还好，所以我会尽量说对的话。
Okay, great. My name is Francis Kweller. I'm the director. I'm a child of immigrants myself. My family, they're Russian-speaking immigrants. This is a really special webinar because it's extremely meaningful. We will be running this in a dual language. So, Fendi, if you could please translate that. The excitement is very high that I'm able to do this.
我们现在很快乐，我们可以跟你们讲话，这是我们第一个两个中文跟英文的 webinar，所以我们现在真的很兴奋跟你们。
All right, so I just want to do one security setting for a moment. Please bear with me, everyone, just one moment. So Olga, Fendi, please unmute yourselves and we're going to get started right now.
Perfect. I just wanted to make one more announcement. So we're translating as we could with my lovely co-host here, Fendi, but also everybody can click the button of show captions, CC show captions on their screen to be able to see a live translation of everything that we're saying. And Fendi, if you could translate that for everybody to know how to turn that on.
OK，在下面有一个stop recording，然后有一个 reactions，在中间有一个就是 caption 的button，然后你可以看到中文话，然后也可以英文话，要是你可以把它读。
Okay, perfect. So if everybody's all settled and hopefully everybody can hear us, can see us, and can see the captions, I think we're just about ready to start. And if anybody has any questions, we'll be monitoring the chat the entire time. So you guys can please communicate in the chat if you have a question or if you don't understand something. And just the basic overview of what we're going to be doing is we're going to start with just answering some questions that you guys may have about specialized high schools, the application process, the testing process, the admissions process. And then if we have time towards the end, we can go through a few questions as well. So you guys are just familiar with the level of difficulty or the types of questions, at least, that you'll be responsible for if you're going to take this exam.
我们现在就给你看那个特殊的考试怎么样，我们会给你 看那个问题在那个考试上面，然后我们 later 我们可以就是要是你有问题，我们可以帮你，然后帮你回答，然后要是对。
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm also going to be taking notes on the screen so you guys can all see, and hopefully we'll be able to send these out at the end. So we have a nice question and answer packet that you guys could always return to, should you forget some of the things that we're mentioning. So the first question that we want to answer is, what are the specialized high schools that you can apply to in New York City?
我们第一个的问题是有什么特殊的高中你可以去申请，然后考进去。
So there are currently 8 specialized high schools that you can apply to in New York City, across all of the 5 boroughs, and I'll list them here.
现在有8个特殊高中，我自己去 Bronx Science，然后我的这里的 co-host 叫 Ogla， 他有去 Staten Island Tech， 但是现在有8个。可以看到。对，你们可以看到。然后他们就都在纽约市里面。
So I'm just listing them up on the screen for you guys. The choice of where to apply to is broad. All of the schools are known for different specialties, mostly science and math. But recent years, the schools have been upping their literary departments as well, and other departments as well. And different schools have various pluses and minuses that we can discuss in more detail. And I would always recommend for you guys to go to open houses to kind of get a feel for the school before you apply.
这些都比较特殊在科学，然后数学，但是现在英文也很大，然后现在英文比较比较进步，在这个这些特殊高中高学，但是要是你想更学这个学校在做什么，你可以去他们的学校，每个是不同的，但是有 open house 在他们的学校，你可以跟你的学生去看他们的学校，公开参观，是叫公开参观。
Okay, so they are all listed up here. And like I said, different schools have different specialties. So depending on your interest or your child's interest, you may consider one school above the other. But these are the 8 that are available in New York City for us to apply to. And I want to talk a little bit about the application process. So the way that you get admitted into any one of these schools is you must take the SHSAT. And in your application process, you rank these schools. And there will later be an algorithm depending on how your child scores on this SHSAT. And then they look at your rankings and then they match you into a program. So you cannot be offered admission into multiple specialized high schools. You will receive an admissions offer from just one school based on the way this algorithm matches you.
对, so, 要是你想去这个学校，你得做一个考试，然后这个考试，你的 score， 你的分数，跟你把它弄1到8，1是你最喜欢的学校，你最想去的学校，然后8是你最不想去的学校，然后要是你考的 很好，非常好，那你可以去你第一个的学校，但是就像一个 ranking system，就是要是你 Stuyvesant 是最好的最高的分数，你得弄，所以 Stuyvesant 是最难的去。
Okay. The only exception on this list is the last one here, LaGuardia High School. Because it's a talent-based school for music, art, and performing. On top of taking the SHSAT, students also have to go through a separate audition process to match into LaGuardia. But for the remainder of the 7, these are entirely and only based on the SHSAT.
对，所以你们这个8个学校都是考试，但是有一个叫 LaGuardia 在下面是特别的，是艺术的学校，所以有很多学生去会唱歌、会跳舞、然后你得会表演，然后你的学生得就是 submit 一个就是表演。
Okay. Any questions so far about the list of schools that are available and the way that algorithm works that we just described?
你们有没有问题吗？我的妈妈也在我旁边，所以要是你们有问题，她也可以帮你。
Okay, so it does not look like there's any questions yet, but at any time you guys can just put them into the chat. So I'm going to move on to question 2, which is why should my child try to attend a specialized high school?
这是为什么你的小孩应该去一个特殊的高中？
So to answer this question, we can answer it in 2 ways. So Fendi and I can talk about our personal experiences. And these are twofold because Fendi is still currently in high school versus my experience as somebody who graduated almost a decade ago now and is now in medical school, and how my specialized high school education continues to sort of impact my life, and how it helped me propel myself into graduate school, and how it formed my education in college. So me and Fendi and I will discuss that. But just briefly, in terms of statistics, students in specialized high schools, they score consistently higher on standardized exams. So they score consistently higher on mandatory exams in New York, such as the Regents. They also do better on the SATs and ACTs, which, as I alluded to before, is about getting into college. They also have higher admissions rates to the top universities. And additionally, they're completely free. So it's a completely free way for your child to have access to a really, really excellent education.
我现在在10年级，所以我可以跟你们讲一点。我现在在 Bronx Science 去，然后我们2个就会说，我们的经验 with special 在特殊的高中，但是第一有很多学生在 SAT、ACT、Regents 都是考试，给大学的考试，上面。在特殊的高中在这个考试上面，比普通的高中，学生考得比较好，考得比较高，然后，是免费的，去 specialized high school 是免费，你不用付钱，
没有学费，
没有学费，然后，去 比较好的大学也比较高。我有很多朋友去 Harvard，有很多 Ivy League 的学校，有很多很好的大学。
Okay, so I just want to expand a little bit broader and share my experience with going to a specialized high school and how that impacted me in my later education. So as you guys know, I graduated from Staten Island Technical High School. I really recommend Staten Island Technical High School. I'm a little bit biased because it is my home school. But I had a very lovely experience there. I think that one thing that I really loved about it is that it's a rather small school. So I was in a class of about like less than 200 students. So what that did is it fostered healthy competition. So I was around students that pushed me to do better. Everybody was very academically motivated. People's averages were above the hundreds. So like you were motivated to not just like to do above and beyond. There were no regular classes, like no regular history classes offered. All of us were automatically enrolled into APs. I think that's another huge benefit of going to a specialized high school because I graduated with a bunch of college credits. And that really simplified my time in college. I thought that my high school classes were more difficult than my college classes. So I was very, 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 very well prepared going into university. I also got admitted to a lot of really great colleges, which I think are due to my education in Staten Island Technical High School. And even now in this part of my career where I'm in my last year of medical school, I sometimes still think back to science classes that I had in high school and professors that I had. A lot of my professors were PhD level like professors, which you don't usually have access to that kind of knowledge base until college or graduate school. So exposing your children to that level of education in high school really shapes the way that you move forward and the types of opportunities that you seek going forward. So although I am biased, I really, really strongly believe that specialized high schools are a great way to give your kids a wonderful education for free. And when I have kids one day, I will likely enroll them into Kweller Prep or something of the like to push them into these academically rigorous environments.
Yay.
我现在就在 Bronx Science，so 我觉得特殊高中真的很好，因为我的同学都非常聪明，真的非常聪明，然后我的老师也是非常非常聪明。我们也有辩论队是很好的，我现在在全国第一的，然后也有很多运动队，就是有很多乒乓球，然后有很多跑步的，但是我觉得在特殊高中最好的是真的，他们很聪明，很聪明的学生。我觉得比我外面，我的朋友，不去特殊的高中，他们不，我们学的是比较好的，我们都比较就是比较难的东西，然后真的会很难，但是你旁边你在学校跟这些很聪明的学生，你真的会你自己会想，就是考得更好，然后学得更好，所以我真的很喜欢，就是我有朋友可以跟我复习考试，然后复习功课，然后我真的我自己非常喜欢科学，然后我跟我的朋友可以聊天，然后聊科学，然后就是我觉得我的老师真的像望我比非常 like 很好的学生，我们就是 很好的学校，然后就是有朋友可以就是跟我复习，真的会就影响我，就我想比更好的学生。
Okay. So again, just want to pause for any questions.
要是你有问题，你可以问我们，然后上面也有一个就是 chat，你可以把你的问题放在那里。
Okay, and we'll move on to the next question, which is how does my child get into a specialized high school? So we spoke about this briefly with question 1, but the only thing that matters for your child to gain admission into one of these schools is that they've all must take this exam. And this exam is known as the Specialized High School Admissions Test, or for short, SHSAT.
Oh, someone direct messaged me. They said Brooklyn Latin High School is missing from question 1. 但是 yeah, that is specialized.
Okay, so SHSAT, and let me add this to the list so we're accurate. So I want to emphasize with question 3 that really the only thing that matters here is the SHSAT. So your grades outside of that, your grades in middle school do not have any impact on you getting in or not getting in.
就是要是你想上这个8个特殊的高中，你得做这个，你得考这个考试，叫 SHSAT，然后这是一个很难的考试，但是就是要是你想去这个学校，你得考这个考试。你现在在7年级、6年级的report 这个成绩都不，他们都不看，就是你考试的分数。
And I also want to talk a little bit about what is on this test. So this exam is 2 sections. There's a reading section and a math section. It's the reading section, they give you passages and then you answer questions based on the passages that you've read. There's also a few grammar passages as well, where then you answer multiple choice questions about the grammar-based passages. They can also ask you multiple choice questions about vocabulary words they use in these passages. And there are a few standalone grammar multiple choice questions as well. The reading section is entirely multiple choice. The math section is mostly multiple choice, but there are, I believe, 5 or 6 questions in the beginning of the math section that are fill in. So you calculate, it's like a word problem, and you calculate a numerical answer and you bubble in the numbers instead of getting a multiple choice.
就在这个考试有2个东西是英文，然后数学，所以就2个都得知道。然后就英文就是就看那个念书，念小的书，然后小文章，然后你得就是有很多问题，然后你得做选择题，你不用写东西，就是选择题，就是有1、2、3、4个选择，然后你得弄对的。数学也是像那样。
可能是数学前面有。
Excuse me, I have a question about the SHSAT. Is the score out of 800 or 700? Because a lot of the people who take practice tests tell me the actual composite score 700 and not 800, while Google tells me the composite score is 800. So I'm kind of confused what it is scored out of.
So it is scored out of 800, but the way that you get to the 800 is there's a formula, and that formula is not really released. The scale is kept confidential by the Department of Education. Kweller Prep does have an estimated score chart that you can use. So basically you get a raw score, which is like the raw amount of questions that you get right, and it's converted to that scaled score out of 800. And we at Kweller Prep have like an estimated scale, but there is the real release, the official release scale is never is kept confidential by the DOE.
那个人问这个考试是最高的分数是800还是700，然后是800，但是就是800有英文然后数学的。
And I'm just taking a second to write down everything that we talked about. But again, what's tested on the English section is reading comprehension, grammar, vocabulary, and that section is all multiple choice. And the next section is math. For math, it's basically you need to know up until the 8th grade curriculum. So they can, so through the 8th grade curriculum, although the test is given early in the 8th grade. So this will include like geometry, algebra, a little bit of trigonometry even. So there's a lot of things that are tested that you may have not gotten through in your actual middle school curriculum yet for the math section.
Sorry to interrupt, but James High said, what is the minimum score on the SHSAT if all of the answers are incorrect?
Again, because the scale is not released, there's no way for us to know that. So let me talk a little bit about how it's graded, right? So the way that it's graded is you don't get penalized for wrong answers. The way that it works is every right answer adds points. So everybody starts with some baseline score, and every right answer that you get adds points. So that's the way the test is graded. However, because we don't know the scale, like we don't know that original score that everybody starts with, and we can backlog and sort of guess an estimate based on how our students do on our practice exams and then the scores that they really get, if that makes sense.
Okay, so 英文就是选择题，然后数学是平常是选择题，但是有一点问题，你得自己把自己写你的你的就是数学，然后这两个都是8年级，你学在8年级的的英文，然后数学。
高科。
Do kids ever get an 800? When I look online, I see that the highest admitted score for Stuyvesant in 2022 was a 680. And it seems a bit surprising because I would assume that at least a handful of the kids who make Stuyvesant got a perfect score.
Again, I would say that everything that you read online is based on people self-reporting their scores, because none of the like the Department of Education doesn't actually release any of this information. So a lot of the things that we read online are just based on people reporting. Based on our previous students, I don't think that I've had somebody that has gotten a perfect score. But I have heard of people in the 700s at least.
Thank you.
Sure. But again, knowing that the highest admitted score in Stuyvesant, even if that's an estimate is 680, tells you the caliber of difficulty of this exam, of how difficult it actually is to get a perfect score. And it also explains the scale for you of approximately where you need to score in order to get into one of these specialized high schools. The other thing that I want to talk about is how long the exam is. So in total, The exam is 180 minutes long, which is 3 hours. And one thing that is unique about this exam is that you guys have free reign kind of to go through the reading and the math section within those 3 hours, and you can go back and forth within the sections. A lot of exams are not like that. They limit you, right, to 90 minutes English, 90 minutes math, and once you switch sections, you can't go back and forth. But this test allows us to work on your personal time management, which is a really important test-taking skill, and learn about where you need to spend more or less time and how to adequately manage those 3 hours to get through the entire test and be able to check your work.
这个考试是3个小时或是180分钟，然后这两个就是数学跟英文，然后这不像外的考试，这个考试会整个3个小时可以让你做数学或是英文，两个都可以，你可以去做数学，然后去做英文，然后还做数学，两个都可以，你可以但是你得把你的时间弄好，就是有很多问题，所以你得把3个小时弄好，
时间算好。
对，你得把时间算好。
A few other questions that are really commonly asked is if there's an essay component. There is no essay component on the SHSAT. These are the only 2 sections that we just went over that will be on the exam. Some students also ask about a scrambled paragraph section. So this is a historical relic that used to be a section on the SHSAT. There used to also be logical reasoning back in the year that I took it, but this has since been removed. So only 2 sections, like we discussed here and like is outlined on this notes page, of English and math. It's approximately, I believe the English section is like 45 questions, I think, and then the math is like 50. It's something like that, something along those lines.
So 在这个考试，没有写的，就英文就是你可以选1、2、3、4，你选择题，你不需要写文章。
Okay. And
then also there's another question. In your experience, what's the hardest section? Is it algebra for math? Is it poetry for English?
It's kind of hard to answer that question because it depends on the student. So everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. From when I took it, I was weaker in my math section. But again, it's very just based on each student and their strengths and weaknesses, and your ability to be good at reading comprehension. There is poetry, that is correct, but usually only 1 poem passage per the entire exam.
有一个人问，你觉得什么英文或是数学是最难的？然后我觉得我真的觉得是我的数学真的不太好，所以我觉得数学就很难。但是英文我比较喜欢，我喜欢就看书，然后所以我觉得数学就是最难的。然后geometry 也我觉得很难，也是叫几何 geometry。然后对，但是每个人是不同的。
Okay, so any other questions about the content of the exam or the length of the exam or grading or anything like that before we move on?
要是你们有问题，你可以说，或是就放在 chat 打字，对。I think, yeah, someone raised their hand, I think.
Yeah, go ahead. You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, Thank you for presenting tonight.
Of course.
Do students usually use all 180 minutes?
Yes, especially because you need that time to check and review. So overall, I think students mostly use the entire time. Maybe they'll finish like 10 minutes early, 15 minutes early, but most of my students, they take the whole time.
Okay. And when is the next test date? Have they announced the date?
So they have not, Miss Frances Kweller can correct me if I'm wrong. The last few years have been like the DOE has been pretty shaky with announcing the test dates every single year, especially after COVID happened. In my experience, it's usually held in late October, and you're assigned a date after you register. It's usually a weekend. But I do not believe that has been released yet.
And Olga, thank you for reading my mind. Everything that Olga just said is accurate. We don't have an exact date. However, safely for many, many years, the test was at the end of October. With the pandemic, it was bumpy. So I think it's safe to predict the exam will take place by November of 2023 this year.
Thank you.
Oh, also, there's 2 more questions that were directly messaged. How many questions are there, and does Kweller do high school and college tours?
Olga, you want to answer the first part?
Yeah, sure. So I can actually show you guys, this is a real released exam from the DOE. So we can quickly scroll through it and I can just review the types of questions very generally and how many there are. So the first few questions, like I mentioned, these are the standalone grammar questions. So they're just going to give you a sentence or 2 sentences, and they're going to ask you things about grammar. So this sentence is asking about combining the sentences. So it's testing your understanding of like commas, semicolons, and different grammatical ways to correctly combine sentences. Here are all the other standalone grammar questions. They'll underline something and they want you to find the mistake or to correct the mistake. And then they give you a grammar passage. So it's a passage, but every single sentence is numbered, and there are mistakes within these passages. And the mistakes can either be about sentence structure, a comma issue, a tense issue, but it could also be about paragraph structure. So we want you guys to know about transition words, topic sentences, how paragraphs flow together, and that sort of thing. And the rest of this becomes all multiple choice. And we have 2 such grammar passages. So up to question 15 has so far been just grammar, but that fluctuates from test to test. But there will always be somewhere between 10 to 15-ish grammar standalone questions. And then the remainder of the questions from 16 to 57 are all reading comprehension. So they'll just give you a passage. Sometimes there will be a table or a picture or a figure attached to it and a question about that as well. And then you just have multiple choice questions about that passage that you read. And this goes on all the way until question 57. So we had 15 grammar questions and then about 42 reading passage questions. And this real released exam. And this is what I meant where sometimes they'll give you like figures and pictures. And then the second section is math. It's 57 questions. The first 5 are these standalone questions that I told you guys about, where it's not multiple choice. You calculate a numerical answer and then you bubble that in. And then the remainder of the 52 questions are all multiple choice. And as we can see just on this first page, we have an algebra question, a geometry question, a percent word problem question. So it's just all mixed in, and they can ask you anything covering within the 8th grade curriculum.
这个考试有140的问题，这个是数学的，在英文有很多文法的问题，然后你得就是看书，然后看文章，然后你得你得回答，然后那个是 57个问题，然后都是选择题，然后数学有五个五个问题就是你写的，然后这里就是63到110就是选择题。Also, I have two more questions, but
Sure.
are all questions weighed equally? How many questions are experimental and not counted / graded? And then is the specialized high school exam taken in the 7th grade? Is it necessary to study the 8th grade courses in advance?
So to my knowledge, all of the questions are weighed equally. In terms of answering how many experimental questions, again, that's non-released information by the DOE, so there is no way to tell. I would treat all of the questions as if they're real. And then, Francis, do you want to answer the previous question about if Kweller Prep does tours?
We run tours. We are going to communicate with the PA. They're usually just for students. They're enrolled in Kweller summer camp. They're enrolled in the SHSAT programs, which we run. And we are going to work on a partnership and discount opportunities. And we are partnering with your school's PA. So the answer is yes, we do run tours. We can just coordinate the logistics of those tours with the Parents Association. And it's definitely a yes. The DOE also runs tours. We highly recommend that you make sure that you're on the mailing list for all the DOE run tours. We will definitely be communicating with the school in terms of what we are running. We are going to schedule a Brooklyn Tech. We already got a yes, we just didn't schedule the dates for Brooklyn Tech. So that's definitely happening in the near future. We will absolutely keep you posted on that.
So Kweller 现在在跟你的家长会两个我们Kweller 跟家长会会给你就是要是他们要去高中看看，现在他们参观，你们可以跟他们，但是他们会给你那个就是什么时候的东西。
告诉你们什么时候。
对，会告诉你们什么时候。I also have 2 more questions directly message. But oh yeah, so I know there was one that was like, is the specialized high school exam taken in the 7th grade and is it necessary to study the 8th grade courses? Also, there's one, what are experimental questions? And could you provide more info about how to register for the exam and where it is taken?
Sure. So the question about when you take the exam is kind of intertwined with like another question that I wanted to talk about. So I'll answer it here. So this question is, can you take this exam multiple times? Can I take the SHSAT multiple times? So you can only take this exam 2 times. One time is in the 8th grade, which is how we mentioned would be early October or November of this year. So right when you just start 8th grade. And another time you're allowed to retake it is in the 9th grade for admission into the specialized high school as a sophomore. So you would come in as an incoming 10th grader. In that case, the exam is usually even more competitive because there's very limited spots, right? Because the schools are already filled up and you'll be coming in as a sophomore. But you cannot take it more than 1 time in the 8th grade. And when you take it, we've already answered, that's usually sometime in October or November of your 8th grade. And you do have to study ahead of time the 8th grade math curriculum because it's all fair game for the exam. And here at Kweller Prep, the difficult part is that it's not the whole 8th grade curriculum. There's certain things that the test likes testing, and there's certain things that are less likely for them to come up. So at Kweller Prep, we have a sort of polished curriculum of what is possibly going to be tested on this exam.
你考这个考试可以考2次，一次在8年级，然后一次在9年级。但是8年级的是比较好考，在9年级比较难。就在8年级的时候，他会有很多8年级的学生去这个考进去这个特殊高中。但是9年级的时候，我现在在10年级，但是我不认识学生去从九年级去 Bronx Science，所以就8年级的是最好的。
And then to answer the other question about what are experimental questions. So experimental questions is this concept that a lot of standardized exams have, that the testing people, so in this case, the Department of Ed, want to sample some questions. So these are not officially on the test, they're not graded, but they're sampling questions to see if they're good questions. And they might use them for later exams, but they don't count towards your exam. But we don't know which ones are experimental or not. They don't tell you. And this is something similar, like I do, this is true for even my like medical boards. This is true for the SATs that you guys will take later on in high school. So it's a common thing to kind of get used to, a common concept to get used to for specialized, for standardized exams rather. But you treat all questions the same because you have no idea which ones are experimental or not. So there's no use of trying to figure it out. You should view every single question as if this is a question that will count and do your best on every single question on the exam.
There's also 2 more questions.
Sure.
Oh yeah, again. The registering question, and then I think we just answered this, but we could go over it again. How does the 9th grade test curriculum differ from the 8th grade test curriculum?
So to register for the exam, I think that the process is twofold. You do it through your school and your guidance counselor, and then there's an online process through like a DOE type website, I think.
It's the My School's website, and everyone has an OSIS through the school. We actually have webinars at Kweller Prep nonstop once the registration opens. So we can actually, again, we'll communicate with the PA, and we're more than happy to run a webinar, and we can run a multilingual webinar again once the exam is announced. But basically you go in My Schools.
Yeah.
I'll just answer that in Chinese also. 要是你想做这个考试，你得去你的学校的辅导员，然后你得拿一个票，然后你拿这个票完的时候，你的小孩可以考这个考试。但是这个票你还得去一个 website，但是你的辅导员应该可以帮你做这个。
会告诉你。
And then to answer the question about the 9th grade exam, so the format is the same, like we just ran through. It's English and math, 2 sections, same timing. But the difficulty will be higher because you're 1 grade level above. So the reading passages will be more difficult, more complex, higher reading level, more complex grammar questions with higher order vocabulary and sentence structure, and more emphasis on geometry, coordinate geometry, 3D geometry, and trigonometry for the math section. And I do want to emphasize that the chances of getting into a specialized high school are the highest in the 8th grade. In the 9th grade, there are very, very, very limited spots open in every single school, like literally 1 to 2 to 3 spots potentially. I remember in my high school, there were only 2 to 3 spots open for the incoming 9th graders. So it's immensely, immensely competitive to get in the 9th grade.
就Raina 的问题，就 要是你想考这个考试，在9年级会比较难，然后学校就可能不会让你去，这个特殊学校，因为他们已经有这个8年级的学生，所以9年级的比较难，然后比较难去这个学校，考进这个学校。
Okay. Are there any other questions in the chat that we haven't answered?
No, not for me.
Okay.
But I think also someone has their hand raised.
Sure, so whoever has their hand raised, you can unmute and ask.
Great, thank you. I have a question about the experimental questions / different versions of the SHSAT. Is it fair to say that, you know, the anecdotal feedback of, oh, I took version A and it seemed much harder than version D. So for one of the drivers could be differences in experimental questions on the different versions?
Absolutely, and the grading is all scaled. So if one section, like if every single student that's taking section B, for example, like if the average is a lot lower than all the students taking form A, for example, they will feed that into their formula to acclimate for that. Does that make sense?
It does. In your experience, has there ever been a year in which, you know, you felt as a kind of educational resource that they got it wrong? Because the thing that there's no transparency in that process. So all we as parents hear after people take the tests, you know, people say, oh, this was that harder and this was easier, and but we have no way of knowing, you know, there's no judgment from our side, and we can't tell if the people who develop the test or grading the test are arbitrarily making one test harder than the other and not normalizing it in, quote, a fair way. Again, we wouldn't know what fair is because we have no transparency as to what the questions are, nor what the scale is. So I just wanted to see if you have ever experienced where one year you would say, wow, these results are not what I expected, or over the course of however long you guys have been doing that, you more or less are pretty comfortable that they get it right more than they get it wrong.
Right, so absolutely, I think that's a really valid question. They are non-transparent. I would say that in my experience tutoring, I think usually we can predict. So because we've been doing this for many, many years, our scales, I imagine, are very close to that of theirs, because usually what students end up averaging, we run practice tests weekly or even bi-weekly closer to when the exam is happening, and what my students average is pretty close to what they end up getting on the real test. So in that case, like, prediction I think is pretty correct. I can't say that there haven't been times where I've been like very surprised where a student that has been scoring very, very well just didn't get in, but I also can't speak to whether that was test anxiety or whether they got the formula wrong. Like there's not enough data also for me to say. Anecdotally, I would say that I think most of the time they do get it right, but I can think of instances where I was like surprised as well.
Thank you.
I don't know if that best.
I have 2 more questions.
Can we stay in this question, because I also want to add to the conversation as well? Good.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put into the chat so everyone can see. So I just put a link in the chat. This is a Google form. I'm going to open it to make sure it's working. So you can actually view your child's exam. So if you are able to, please, you know, save this, bookmark this, and this tab, you can view your child's test. It's not the easiest process. You have to go in person. You have to go to the DOE test site. But you are able to see every single question of the real test that your child took. And Olga, I just want to make sure my sound is good and everyone hears what I'm saying. So this link, that it works, and you have this option every single year. You will be able to view your child's exams. And parents go all the time and they do this. So this is a very feasible option. No matter how your child scored, this is extremely helpful. I also want to take a moment to add. If your child in the 7th grade has test anxiety, if your child has an attention deficit, if your child has any diagnosis, you are eligible under Children with Disabilities for an IEP, for 504, for extended time on this exam. I want you to know this is protected information. This is safe information. This will never hurt you. This will never hurt your child in any capacity. In fact, it's federally protected law. And I am saying this as a tutor, as an educated, as a lawyer, as someone who's very knowledgeable in the system. If your child needs a test accommodation because you do have a bad day, that's perfectly fine. But some children have unbearable, overwhelming, crippling test anxiety, and it will substantially affect their test performance. In that case, you need to reach out to your school counselor, request a 504 IEP and evaluation. Please do not be afraid of doing this. The school will not hurt your chances in any way, and they will not bar you from getting into a great school. Please remember this. With that being said, I would like everyone to click on the link that I put into the chat just now and save this, because this is the link. They're going to update this. You will be able to view your child's exam after this test is taken. All right, so please remember this is refreshed every year, and you'll be able to view your child's exams. And we will be more than happy to communicate and partner with this school so that we can facilitate any, information we can about the testing. That's all.
Francis 在chat 里面放这个一个就是 link， 然后这个是
Olga, can you open the link, share screen it really fast?
很重要的 link， 你应该把它你应该知道这个在哪里，因为你可以这是给你的小孩，要是他做完那个特殊的考试，你可以看那个问题，然后你可以跟他们复习。要是然后这是你考完的时候，所以要是你就是9年级也想考，你可以就用这个看，然后要是你就想看你怎么做，然后那个问题你也可以去这个 DOE 去看看你的考试。
What were the other 2 questions?
Oh yeah. Is it true that they can give more challenging versions at higher performing middle schools? And when parents request DOE to review the test, do we get to see the actual questions and answers, or just the breakdown of which topics receive which scores? But they sent that earlier, so I think those.
Yeah, so we already answered that, the second question. You could actually see the real questions. And then the first question, that is not true. The exam is standardized, so your child won't get a different exam if they're in a higher performing middle school. That's not true. The exam is standardized for everybody that takes it. Okay. Any other questions?
你们有没有问题吗？
Although let's also take a moment to remind the families that there are many excellent schools besides just specialized. We will gladly offer a separate webinar to talk about those, but we want to make it very clear that there are other schools. For example, Bard Early College, Beacon, Townsend Harris. There's a long list of schools. We can also share that information with you that are not specialized. Everything that you are learning for the specialized high school exam will replay, as this knowledge will repeat throughout 8th grade. These testing topics that literally will repeat throughout all of 8th grade in school. So you are learning advanced curriculum that you will see again. Keep in mind, specialized high schools are not the only excellent series of schools. There's also a lot to be said about being the big fish in the zone schools and having 101 average at a local school and graduating at the very top. So please remember that specialized high schools are just one set of schools. There are screened schools, which are very impressive as well. And there's also the big fish opportunity. After all of this SHSAT prep, your child will be extremely well positioned to graduate at the top of any zone school. Thank you. If you could translate.
这个特试的高中不是纽约市的唯一的高中，有很多好的高中。Townsend Harris 是非常好的高中，但是你不需要考这个 SHSAT 去这个学校。这个特殊的高中很好，但是纽约市有别的高中，你的小孩可以去。这个特试就真的是非常好，但是这个考试也很难，所以要是你考得不好，你还可以去外面的别的高中，还有在纽约市还有很多好的。Also, I have 2 more questions in my chat if you would like to answer. If my score is between my choice 1 and 2, am I guaranteed to get into my second choice? And then, is there a discounted in-person summer SHSAT program?
Sure, so I can answer the first question. So the way that it works is an algorithm. So the way that it works is, the way the algorithm works is the most competitive school looks at every single student and they see, okay, so this student's first choice, let's say, is Stuyvesant, and let's say they got an 800. So that student gains admissions into Stuyvesant. And they look at everybody's first choice and everybody that has high enough, from the highest score all the way to the lowest score until they fill up their class, right? So Stuyvesant, I think, takes close to like 8,000 students or something like that. So once they fill the class, that become the last student that made it, that score, whatever they got, becomes the cutoff score. So nobody below that score then gets into Stuyvesant. So the way that it works is your choices are prioritized. So if your score makes the cutoff for your second choice, you will 100% get in there. Does that make sense? So that's how the algorithm sort of matches you. I don't know if I explained that well. Let me know if you still have questions about the way that works. And then I think Francis should answer the second question about the courses that are available.
We are partnering with the school, so we're running a really good mini course right now in the months ahead. We do run a full summer camp, which is very strong as well. At Kweller, we also provide tutoring and support up until the test. We have in-person, we have Zoom. I mean, everything's very aggressive and strong. I mean, as a child of immigrants myself, it's very important to me that the students are getting really top-notch and a very strong preparation. We're speaking quite a lot about the test and just the scoring. I do want to remind everyone, each question is weighed equally. So it's something that you have to also remind your child that you should not spend too much time on one question. Each point is very valuable because spending too much time on question, for example, 58 could preclude you from getting 59, 60, 61, and 62 correct. And Fendi, if you could help translate that, please.
每个问题在这个特殊的考试都是很重要，但是每个问题就是分数都是一样的，所以要是一个 英文的问题是1个分，一个数学的问题就是也是1个分，所以你的小孩考这个试的时候，他一定得知道，要是每一个问题都是平等的，然后他只有3个小时，给114个问题，所以他不行把他的时间，放在1个问题，因为他们都是平等的。
他们有很多不同的题。
Oh yeah, and then 他们有很多的补习班，有像我们像这样子的 Zoom，然后也有就是在你的旁边，就是他们有一个 Manhattan 跟在 Queens 的 location，的地方办公室，你们可以就是去他们。但是也有 Zoom 的，就是你可以2个电脑上就也可以。And then also I have, does Kweller help with choosing 12 regular public high schools?
The answer is yes. We do provide a lot of support as we get closer. This is usually in the form, to be honest with you, of a free webinar, and we just go and outline everything. We also we actually have really good videos. I'm going to put that into the chat as well. We have excellent videos of past trips that you can review, and you can really, make a decision for yourself which school is the best first choice. We are able to provide good summaries, but a student who would want Bard Early College, for example, may not want Townsend Harris High School. So we do have some really good videos, which I will add the link into the chat momentarily.
这个高中都很不同，所以 Kweller Prep 也会帮你，就是去什么学校，就是 Townsend，会很多科学的，但是 Bard 会不同的东西，所以他们会帮你，然后他现在帮你解说，然后有很多就是像在 YouTube 上面，你可以在 Kweller Prep 那个上面可以看这个高中有科学的吗？有英文的吗？你可以就是自己学，然后他们也会帮你。
Olga, can you just open the link? I just want to give everyone a visual of the high school tours. Okay. So as you're opening this page, give it a moment for the page to load. It's a really heavy page. So everyone take a look. This is a very video heavy page on the Kweller Prep website. You will be able to see the Townsend Harris Beacon and Bard High School application. So this video is particularly helpful, and it will help you understand what the application process is to screened high schools. And Fendi, if you could please help translate that. So this will be the first.
在这个上面有说这个他们去 Brooklyn Tech， 然后你可以看学校像什么，然后学校就是特殊在什么，然后也有这不是特殊的高中，是 Malloy， 然后也有 Bronx Science， 我就去 Bronx Science， 然后 Beacon 也是一个不是特殊的高中，但是他们都有去，然后他们会跟你就说，要是你的小孩喜欢科学或是画画，有很多不同的学校，然后都可以就是帮你的小孩就是做这个选择这个东西。
So these are the videos of schools. Please remember, if you are sitting for the SHSAT, you will also have an opportunity for other high schools. For example, the Catholic high school exam is called the TACS, TACHS. And Olga, if you just kind of circle it or show at the top of the screen, you can learn about the Catholic school entrance exam. It's easier than the SHSAT. So you can take that test at exactly a month apart from the SHSAT.
然后就有很多不同的学校，就是给Catholic 的学校，基督教的学校有一个考试叫 TAX，然后是从特殊的考试一月从特殊的考试，你的学生可以这个考试，这个考试比特殊的考试比较简单，然后就是对，就是也是很好的高中，但是比较简单。
And the tax, you don't have to be Catholic to go to the tax school. So we know at Kweller Prep, kids who are Jewish, Muslim, they observe other Hindu. We have plenty of students who are not Catholic and they attend these schools. So they're very good as well. There's another set of schools for private schools. They're called independent schools. And these independent schools, you take the ISEE exam. ISEE. And this is called the Independent Schools Entrance Exam. So this particular test you can also take. So for example, you can take the SHSAT, let's say November 5, maybe they offer it around that time. Then you can take the TAX, for example, November 10, and then you can take the IC exam November 20th, and then you celebrate Thanksgiving on the 21st. So you can actually take these 3 exams within 3 weeks of each other. Fendi.
也有这个学校，就是不是基督教的，但是你可以做 ISEE 的考试，然后这3个考试就是3个月，他们非常近，他们3个的考试非常近，但是跟 TAX 跟 ISE 不是免费的学校，是你得就是付学费，然后 TAX 是基督教的学校，但是你不用就是做基督教的，有很多学生都不是基督教的，但是他们也可以去这个学校。And then I also have 2 questions regarding these tests. How does the HSPT compare to the SHSAT? And then, do you know the cost for the ISEE test?
So the SHSAT is free. The TAX exam is, I don't recall. I want to say under $100. The IC is big money. It's about $200 for that exam. I don't know if you want to write it down. I mean, I'm giving you rough numbers. So then you can take an ISEE, or if you couldn't put Olga next to that, a slash, the SSAT. IC is real money. IC is more like 200. You can take IC or SSAT. SSAT is very popular for the boarding schools, the sleepaway schools, Andover, Exeter. You know, at Kweller Prep, we would recommend that you just take the IC because you can submit IC. It's called, by the way, I just want to be very specific. It's called the Upper level IC exam. So there are 3, but lower, middle, upper. You'll take the upper level IC. Then there's also the tax exam, and there's a long, hard test called the HSPT. The HSPT, did you look that up just now? Okay. I just want you, look at how clever these girls are. Isn't that clever? Thank you for doing that. That's why you extend my brain, ladies. So the tax is $65. The I want to say ICMI, right? It's like 200. The other test is called the HSPT, and that's a very long reading, math, and grammar test with ability. If you could write it down, the HSPT next to the tax, that's also for Catholic schools. If you want to go to Regis, or there are certain Catholic schools that look for that exam as well. So 8th grade, fall of 8th grade, is potentially a very busy testing season. HSPT is basically a very long reading, math, grammar test. It's I'll look it up, I guess, with the details. I want to say 300 questions, but you can definitely stay busy. This is a really good synopsis of testing. While you're applying to all of these test schools, you also have to write essays to get into screened New York City high schools, about 500 words. Bard, Beacon, you have a lot of essay writing for those schools. And last year they had 2-minute interviews. You had to speak for 2 minutes about yourself, and it was a video submission. It sounds like a lot, but we're breaking it down for you. I also want to remind you, you don't have to do all of this. These are just options. We want you to see all of the different options that you have. HSPT is for Catholic schools. It's a long, I want to say, am I right, Olga? 300 questions. It's a very long test that is easier than the SHSAT, but it is just long, and it's 3 times longer than that exam. All right, so please keep that in mind as well. Fendi, good luck translating all of that.
这个都是有5个考试，有4个考试，然后都不是免费的，是基督教的考试，就是天主教的考试。这个 TAC 是天主教 ，HSPT 是非常长的，有300个问题，然后也很难。然后这个有这个考试，有一些需要就是不是就是选的问题，你得写字、写文章，然后你得跟就是学校的人讲话，讲两分钟给 HSPT，然后也不是免费的，就是 tax 是65块，HSPT 是就是也不是免费100块，然后 ISE 是很贵的200块，是 upper level 的，so 得给这是给高中的学生，这都是给高中的学生，但是有很多不同的，然后 SHAT 是给人家不想在纽约市是去外面的学校，是上外国的学校，然后不是在纽约的学校，就是他们会在那个学校就睡觉，然后住，然后这个
住
校，对，然后就不是免费的，然后比技术考试很不是就像的，是很不同的，有很多比 tax 是比较不难，但是 HSPT 是很长的，所以你们得就是做这个考试，但是你得想你的小孩想去哪里，然后他们比较会写文章吗？还是就弄1、2、3、4的选择题？ Oh yeah, and then I also have another question. Can you take the 3 exams without applying to any Catholic or private schools? And do schools offer merit scholarships based on scores? And can we apply to private schools after receiving 3 scores?
That's a lot of question components. So let me see,
Yeah.
where is this? Where was this?
It's all of these questions have been like directly messaged
Let me see.
to
Hold
me. I
on.
can like copy and
Let's
paste it.
open them one at a time. Okay, Olga, you want to go to the first part? Okay, Olga, you start, then I'll keep going. Go ahead. Okay, Fendi, let's start one question at a time, one component at a time, rather. What's the first part, Fendi? Read it over.
Can you take the 3 exams without applying to any Catholic/private schools?
I believe the answer to that is yes.
Correct. You can sit for the exams. When you take the tax, though, the whole point of that test is to submit and see how you do. The IC is a very interesting test. I mean, if you want to take it just to see where you stand, which is what I think the question is getting at, it's actually a very good test just to take because it has an essay component, reading, math, and grammar, and there's actually a national, if you could actually write that in, Olga, it's a national scale, so you'll see how everyone else in the country compared to you is scoring. So you can translate that, I guess.
So 这个 tax 你不行，这个有4个，第一不行，不行就不放学校，tax 你一定得放
选
学校，你得就放你想去哪一个学校，但是 ISE 是200块的，你不用做选学校，你可以就考，因为这个是比较好的考试，因为你可以就看你写的怎么样，你可以弄，然后这个是国外的，所以你可以看你比国外的学生考得怎么样。Oh yeah, and then the second question is, do schools offer merit scholarships based on scores?
The answer is yes. If you score in the top percentile in the tax exam, there's a separate scholarship test, which is more reading, math, and grammar for schools like Malloy, St. Francis Prep. You'll take another math and English test. So basically you cannot escape math and English at all because it's going to appear, and the IC has an essay. So keep that in mind as well. The answer is yes. They always allocate money towards the top test scores on these exams, and you will be able to negotiate in the private schools as well, connected to your test scores. Let's kind of pivot back to specialized high school. Are we okay? I just want to go back into the specialized zone because we do want to focus on the schools. And Olga, if you want to add to your experience for a bit, just quickly what you liked about your school, please.
Sure. So I graduated from Staten Island Technical High School. What I loved about the school is that a lot of these specialized high schools are very big. I think Brooklyn Tech has thousands of students, so does Stuyvesant. Staten Island Technical High School offers you a much smaller environment where you kind of know all of your peers. It felt very much like a very small community. We knew all of our teachers. We knew everybody in the grade. So that was one of my favorite parts. The other thing is you're exposed to not just college level courses, but like I literally went to the college that was local to my high school and took classes with other college students in high school. So not just AP classes, but quite literally you're sitting in a university and you're getting that experience too. And outside of the difficulty of college classes, it also just prepared me of like, what is it like in college? What is a college lecture hall like? What is the environment like? How do you learn basically in that kind of environment versus in a high school environment where the teachers are very much holding your hand. And then the other thing is we were exposed to all of these like engineering type topics that I don't know if a lot of high schools offer, but I got to take an engineering class in high school. I got to take a robotics class. I got to take a TV and movie production class. So what it did is it really like broadened my base of career options as well. And overall, it was a really great experience. I have absolutely no regrets. I thought that my high school curriculum was harder than my college curriculum. And the other thing is, because I'm also like a daughter of immigrants, so I'm first generation that's going to graduate school in the United States. So for me, it was really difficult to like understand how to navigate this whole process because my parents don't know how to navigate this process. So the other thing that my school did really well is they really walked us through of how to apply to college, what are the programs available, what kind of scholarships are available. And I got really lucky. I got into a Macaulay Honors program, which completely paid for my entire tuition. So I went to college entirely for free, which was huge. And I feel like I might not even have known that that program existed. I also have graduated from a BAMD program, which made my life in applying to graduate school and medical school significantly easier. And again, the only reason I had that resource is because of this high school that I went to. So I think the other thing that's really important is the ability to know your resources, which is, I mean, amazing with Kweller Prep too. The fact that we're organizing all of this is a huge help because a lot of people just don't even know that these options exist. So like Francis was saying before, I think it's really important to know all of your options, weigh all of your options, and take that advice onwards. Wherever high school you end up in, you're going to be doing the same exact process for college and then for graduate school.
And Fendi, can you speak about your experience as well? I just want to remind everyone that we do have closed captionings. Go to the bottom, see on the bottom. We do have captionings. We're a little bit tight with time, and I do want to add a few more points. So Fendi, if you are able to, or is that okay? Can you please add here? Is that okay? You hear me? Hold on. Fendi, I actually have another person as I'm waiting for Fendi to rejoin the meeting. Tiny technical issues. So we actually have a surprise, everyone. Olga, you can write it down. It's called S&J Tour and Bus Company. Did I get it right? I don't know if I got it right. Sorry. S&J Bus and Tour, S&J Tour and Bus, S&J Coach Bus. S&J what's the full name? Casey, help. S&J. What is it, Casey?
Tour and bus.
What is it? S&J what?
Tour and bus.
S&J Tour and Bus. I definitely am going to get it right after today's webinar. Can you please quickly, we have a special surprise guest. So can you please quickly tell us about what services you offer once students are accepted to specialized high schools and where? And Olga can jot it down.
Yeah, definitely. So before we are offering kind of bus service as private bus service to the specialized high school, Stuyvesant High School, and also Bronx Science and HSAS. So it's more like a comfortable bus service for kids to bring them safely to and from school every day. You know, especially due to like now with the concerns with, I guess, safety was a huge concern. So that's one of the service we're offering to students.
That's so great. So thank you so much. While we have your attention, can you speak, am I correct? You speak Chinese and English fluently, am I right?
Yeah.
You want to do something fun on the spot? Can you tell us in Chinese and in English what you liked about Brooklyn Technical High School? Because you are a graduate of Brooklyn Tech High School. Tell us.
I think for Brooklyn Tech, definitely, well, I love the area, and Brooklyn Tech, they actually have you guys do like majors, so you can kind of pick your own majors and concentration per se. So sort of mimicking whatever, mimicking college in a way. And I think it's like it's really funny. It goes like, it's a very STEM-based school, but they also have like the humanities side as well. So it really depends on like what you want to choose. And I could do a very quick snippet in Chinese. I don't know
Oh, no,
how
no, I want to hear all of it, not a snippet. We want it all. Okay, go ahead, share.
OK，就是这个，当然除了 Stuyvesant 跟Bronx Science 以外，这个 Brooklyn Tech 也是一个比较大的学校。然后我们就是其实也跟模拟大学的这个专业差不多，你可以在高中的时候也选择哪些专业，比如说你想学着这个化学或者法律等等，然后按照那个专业去选课，选修 AP 课这些的。然后当然也修语言课，比如说 AP 中文啊、AP 西班牙文这些等等。I think I hope I was okay with it.
Wait, how do you say Kweller Prep is awesome? I want to hear this in Chinese. We're winding down, everyone. All right, this is a big deal. Okay, I want to hear this. Ready? Does it translate in captions? No, right? No. All right. Go ahead. I'm waiting.
好的，那我觉得这个 Francis 跟这 Kweller Prep 是非常非常棒的一个这个补习班，也觉得我相信大家在这儿也就是相信他们做的非常好，所以在参加这个视频。
That is cool. I want to take Fendi, are you good now? Are you good with the sounds? Can you tell us?
Yeah.
Go ahead. So tell us about your experience as a Bronx high school. Do you want to tell everyone how old you are? How old did you just
Yeah, I said I was in 10th grade. 我现在是16岁, so I'm 16.
She
now.
just turned 16. When did you turn 16?
April 2nd. So yeah.
Everyone, I just want to take a moment to really thank Fendi because I think this is the most Chinese she's spoken in a very long time for an hour straight translating. And this is really on the spot. I asked her to assist yesterday and she agreed. So this is a big deal to be literally just a few days shy of, you're 15, you're 16. This is a very big deal. Thank you so much for doing this. So everyone, we really do owe her a big thank you. We're going to give it to you in a moment. But if you could just quickly tell us about Bronx High School of Science.
Yeah. So 就在 Bronx Science, 我很喜欢科学，然后我刚刚说，但是我很喜欢科学，然后我有很多朋友也很喜欢科学，然后我现在我非常喜欢我的老师，就在特殊高中，我觉得最好的是老师，因为我的老师都去大学了，然后他们都很会，就是教科学，然后我在middle school， 我在初中就我没有学那么多科学，但是我现在在 Bronx Science 真的学的非常多，然后也很难，但是要是你喜欢做科学，那复习科学就不是那么难。然后我刚刚也说，但是我的同学非常聪明，然后我有朋友也非常喜欢科学，然后他们也会做很多运动，然后他们就是非常聪明，然后他们可以做很多，然后我看他们做很多，我也想做很多，我也想就是复学科习，然后就是我很喜欢学东西，然后在 Bronx Science 的老师，然后我的朋友都很优秀，然后就是我真的很喜欢学东西，因为我去 Bronx Science。
谢谢. There. Everyone, as we're winding down with the webinar, I want to take a moment, if possible. I'm going to put everyone so they can type thank you into the chat. I really want to thank Olga for 10 years of doing this. Thank you. I want to thank Fendi for rising to the occasion as a strong, intelligent, graceful, highly educated, fierce female. You are a woman I am so proud of. Congratulations on turning 16. And this is, I really want to say congratulations on your very first major school webinar, your first participation in something like this. This is actually a bit of an emotional moment as well. Fendi just turned 16. She has hosted her very first webinar. This is in partnership with the PA as a Title I project to create knowledge and awareness for students and for parents who really, need help navigating such a tough system within the New York City Department of Education. We are so grateful to do this. I think it's really cool. I learned how to add Chinese closed captions. This was a great learning experience. This is our very first webinar. I also want to thank someone in the background. Fendi's mother is in the background as her coach. Yeah. And as you know, it takes a village to raise a child. Fendi, thank you. Thank you so much to your mother. Thank you for being a student at Kweller Prep. Thank you for agreeing to do this. Really thanks a lot to your mom. Oh, no, we want to say hi. Hello, mommy. We want to say hi. We do. We want to say SHSAT. Everyone say SHSAT. Ready?
Hi, Francie.
Hi, thank you for letting us do this with your daughter. And thank you for coaching and making sure everything's covered. This is a very special moment with the Shuang Wen School and the 7th graders. And we are running a mini SHSAT program before the summer starts. We hope that, everyone can participate. Olga, thank you as well. I cannot express my gratitude enough. I think this tops the 160 student Zoom we had for the Hunter exam on where I sent you the wrong link. I want to apologize for that moment. I think this is a whole new experience for us. This is Olga's very first multilingual webinar as well. So this is a first for her, first for me, definitely a first for Fendi. I want to thank the S&J Tour and Bus Company. I got it right this time because thank you for joining the call and for sharing that this is an Asian-owned business and they provide transportation to and from multiple specialized high schools, and they are gladly able to add more schools as there is interest. So we're so happy to share this. I would love everyone, as we're typing, a thank you. If we could, please, I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to ask everyone to unmute and just give the girls a thank you. This was a big deal, and this was just a lot of effort. And I'm sure you all know behind the scenes, this is not something that was easy to arrange. So everyone, we're going to count to 3. We're going to say thank you. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. 谢谢, 再见. 恭喜发财. Those are my big words. 再见, 谢谢. That's it. That's about all I
Happy
can
New
add.
Year.
Thank you, everyone. And we're so happy to add that Kweller Prep is proud to partner with this school and to make this a great learning experience. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
Yes, thank you to the Parents Association and especially the PTA presidents. This is a very special collaboration. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for doing this. Thank you, everyone. Does anyone in the PA want to close up, or are we, as we're exiting out? I feel like we were good, right? We covered a lot. Yolanda, thank you so much. Lynn, thank you, Elaine. Okay, everyone, we're good. We're going to close.
Lots of stuff covered here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye. Good
Bye.
night. Thank you again. Thank you. Wow, Fendi, your very first school webinar. Isn't that exciting? Who would have ever thought?
Yeah, it was really fun.
You did a great
Yeah.
job. I'm so proud
Thank
of
you.
you. Didn't she do a great job, Olga?
It was great.
Olga, tomorrow you're going to do all of this in Russian. Are you ready?
I was just thinking that.
That would be real, with your mother a few inches away from you. I think that will be, Olga's going to do this whole thing in Russian. What do you think, guys? I think that's a great idea. Olga, get ready for Tuesday night.
Are you actually here?
No. I think that would be the last straw at that point. I think Olga will say that's enough at Kweller.
No, I would be down to do one in Russian.
I
That would,
think
we
I think
wouldn't-
that would be quite the experience.
Yeah.
That's a Bambi Academy, Big Apple Prep.
My
We're
mom
ready.
would be sitting next to me.
That would be so funny. Thank you so much. This was a great experience. We
Yeah,
did
of
it. I'm
course.
so excited. All right. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone. Thank you. This was very special. I'm so happy we did this and we got a ton of thank
Yeah.
yous. Okay.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
It was
Have a
so
good
sweet.
Fendi. Bye.
Enjoy.
Bye. Nice to
Oh
meet you
yeah,
too.
definitely. Thanks for agreeing to this, Fendi. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really owe you one. This was a big deal.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think
Bye.
this
Good night.
entitles Fendi to a summer job at Kweller Prep for sure, right? This was a big deal. What do you think? Funny. Here we go. Check it out. All right, everyone. I'm gonna close up. Okay. Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.